Hey guys, my name is Hab, and this is the Sturer Emil, or the Sturer Emil, or the Stubborn Emil. Some of you probably know it from War Thunder, but in Blitz, the Emil is a tier 7 tank destroyer, without a turret, but with some juicy advantages, and let's talk about the biggest advantage it has, shall we? The gun is outstanding. Simply put, this may be my most favorite gun at tier 7. It's a 128mm cannon with 231mm of AP penetration and 65mm of HE penetration. You may have noticed something missing. Yes, this gun does not have a premium shell. Does it really need one though? The penetration is so absurd that, so long as you aim your shots in, it will most likely go straight through almost anything. And aiming shots in is, thankfully, almost comically easy with this gun. There's not many tanks at the tier that aim faster and are more accurate. The starkest example is probably the E25, but that's also only a 75mm gun, so let's take something a bit more fair, the T25AT. The aim time is identical, 1.27 seconds if you're running most bells and whistles, which is pretty good for the T25, but even more impressive for the Emil, which also has better dispersion to boot. All of these factors are good, but what sells the deal even further is something that, well, I just have to say outright. The Emil has 15 degrees of gun depression. 15. 15. This is a really rare amount of gun depression, something that tanks like the Comet get pretty close to, but is otherwise seen only in low-tier tanks. This means that you can use some downright absurd areas to take potshots from, and then quickly hide, given the fact that using all of this gun depression hides a vast portion of your tank's body. One other thing to mention is that the Emil can use reticle calibration as one of its consumables, but unlike the Bullsig and possibly the Waffenträger, if you're using the 150mm guns, it does not really make much sense here. I'd recommend keeping that slot open for another repair kit. The rest of the tank is unfortunately a bit lackluster, maybe fortunately so for the enemy team, as otherwise the Emil would be obscenely broken. The armor is rather bad, as it's based off the VK3001H platform. That already didn't have any great armor when it was still in the tech tree, but this is 2 tiers higher with a very insignificant armor increase. Depending on the guns you face, it's entirely possible that you may get penetrated with HE in the front. Don't let the spare tracks on the lower area fool you, those don't do anything to protect you, and you have basically the same protection as the rest of the front does. The mantlet is big, yes, but that's nothing to rely on. Just pretend there's absolutely nothing. Sides and the rear are even worse and can be easily shot through with practically everything. You could probably punt a football straight through the side. Use the spoiler liner consumable, and this should remain in your provisions all the way until the grill. I remember the mobility being quite bad when I played it at first, and that's because it was. 25 km per hour as your top speed was far from good, and especially when you have no armor. Thankfully, times have changed and you can drive as quote-unquote fast as 30 km per hour. You wouldn't believe how much difference that speed increase makes for the tank, as before you didn't really want to touch it, and now you can be entirely willing to give it a few shots for the day. Your track traverse can get quite good at well over 50 degrees a second, and your gun arc is also nice, meaning your camo doesn't get broken nearly as often as with some other tanks. This is, however, at least in my opinion, the weakest part of the tank. If you're not used to driving slower and more methodical tanks, I wouldn't really recommend keeping this one in your garage for much longer. So, before I get to any replays at all, how about I quickly go through the points? So, the pros: great gun, good reactionary mobility, and great gun depression. And the cons: low protection, low HP pool, and average speed. What's my verdict on the Emil? Well, this is gonna be a cop-out, but it depends. If you love quirky tanks with fantastic cannons, the Emil is definitely one to consider. The gun is such a standout at this tier that it may just bring the tank a bit more notoriety that it deserves. However, this is not an easy tank to play, don't get me wrong. The gun may get you places, but what truly gets you somewhere is you yourself. Map awareness, target prioritizing, and using terrain wherever you go will help a long way. And without further ado, let's watch a replay from yours truly using no cheat ingredients whatsoever. Alright, so been quite a long time since I've done this last time, but this is going to be a short battle because this is a tier 7 tank destroyer. It simply just does not need that much attention. Right from the get-go, I assumed that we were going to do the whole heavy line shtick, so I decided to commit to it, because might as well use all of the dunes that are available there. There won't be a lot of damage done in this battle, but the start is just glorious. That's the reason I picked this one. This gun packs a lot of damage, and it packs a lot of module damage. It has a lot of gun depression, and it's pretty accurate, meaning that you can pull off antics such as these. Oh man, the guy never saw it coming. That's the biggest chunk they'll be doing this entire battle. It's gonna take a while before another actually worthy opponent appears that can get rid of their HP, but I think this is overall a decent way to explain the Sturer Emil playstyle, because you can't be particularly aggressive with it, it just does not have the health. 1000 health is pretty bad. I could have probably HE'd that, but given it was a spur of the moment, I didn't exactly want to commit to that. So yeah, that's the biggest punches they'll be doing this entire battle, but the important bit is that every time you play the Sturer Emil, what you do is you use that terrain and you use it hard. The more you can use it, the more you can exploit it, the better you will perform. A lot of these maps have these stupid spots. 15 degrees of gun depression. That's just as high as it gets, man. That is an unfortunate miss, but that's not a lot I can do about. However, this is basically the second last shot. I remember I used to really despise the Sturer Emil, but now I'm like a huge fan of it. I have well over 100 battles on it, and I think I might try and commit to the 200 number, maybe even 250, depending on how much I play at tier 7, which is not particularly common, as you might assume with me. I'm already preparing a HE shot. Well, HE shot, well, that's more in my mind, but I'm preparing to predict where the Sturer is actually at, which I wasn't particularly off with this thought, because he is basically right around here. Then you load that HE shot and bam. This is where that high explosive comes in very handy. The lack of a premium shell is a little bit of a bummer, but considering just how stupidly high the nominal pen value is on the stated AP round, it should not really hold you back that much. Even with like some very hefty tier 8 heavies, this gun performs just fine. The Sturer Emil requires a little bit of finesse, a little bit of map knowledge, and a little bit of spatial awareness, but once you are able to use all of that, this thing is just an absolute exploiter. I love using this thing on every single map that has a lot of traversable terrain, but the Sturer Emil absolutely blows on maps like Himmelsdorf, so that's something you should be aware of. Anyways, that has been it from me. My name is Hab, you know the classics. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and I'll catch you guys later. Hopefully with something a little bit less late. Anyway, bye-bye.